Buy my bike, sir. Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days. The single dad who found out who took everything from her. The rain had just stopped when Ethan Miller pulled into the grocery store parking lot, his old pickup coughing as if protesting another long day. He was late, again. Between raising his 8-year-old son, Noah, and working double shifts at the auto shop, life had become a blur of exhaustion and bills. But fate has a way of showing up when you least expect it. As Ethan stepped out, he saw a small figure standing near the entrance, a little girl, maybe 9 or 10, her clothes too thin for the cold. She was clutching a rusted pink bicycle, the kind a child once loved but had clearly outgrown long ago. Her shoes were worn, her face pale. She looked up at him and said, her voice trembling, "Sir, would you please buy my bike? Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days." Ethan froze. The sentence hit him harder than any car he'd ever repaired. He knelt beside her. "Where's your mom, sweetheart?" The girl hesitated, then pointed to a broken-down car parked by the curb. Inside, through the fogged window, he saw a woman, head leaned against the steering wheel, motionless. Ethan's heart clenched. He walked. The cold wind whipped through the nearly empty parking lot of the suburban grocery store as Ethan Cole zipped up his worn leather jacket. He was late picking up his daughter from school. Again. Being a single dad wasn't easy, but he was doing his best. Between 2 jobs and overdue bills, life had become a daily balancing act of exhaustion and hope. As he reached his truck, a small voice called out from behind him. "Sir, excuse me, sir." Ethan turned to see a little boy, no older than 8, standing near the bike rack. The boy's face was thin, his clothes mismatched, his sneakers muddy. He held onto a small, rusted bicycle with one hand, gripping the handlebars tightly as if afraid it might be taken away. "Could you please buy my bike, sir?" the boy said, voice trembling. "Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days." Ethan froze. The boy's words cut through him sharper than the wind ever could. "Where's your mom?" Ethan asked gently. The boy pointed across the lot to a beat-up old sedan. Inside, a woman sat hunched over the steering wheel, her hair messy, eyes closed, face pale. Ethan's heart clenched. He reached for his wallet, but something about the boy's quiet dignity stopped him. He didn't want to just hand over cash. He wanted to understand. "What's your name, buddy?" "Liam," the boy whispered. "Mom says we'll be fine, but she hasn't eaten and she's sick, so I thought, maybe if I sell my bike." The bike was clearly his only toy, his only treasure. Ethan swallowed hard. "Tell you what, Liam," he said softly. "Let's get your mom something to eat first. Then we'll talk about the bike." Inside the grocery store cafe, Ethan ordered hot soup, sandwiches, and juice. Liam's mom, her name was Clara, hesitated at first, ashamed to accept help. But when Liam looked up at her with wide, pleading eyes, she finally took a bite. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted my son to go begging." Ethan shook his head. "You don't have to apologize for trying to survive." As they ate, Ethan learned that Clara had once run a small bookstore downtown. She'd lost it after her business partner emptied the account and disappeared, leaving her buried in debt. Since then, she'd been trying to rebuild, working odd jobs, sleeping in her car when rent money ran out. When she mentioned the bookstore's name, Page Turner Books, Ethan's expression changed. "That was your store?" he asked in disbelief. Clara nodded. "You've heard of it?" Ethan leaned back, stunned. "Heard of it? That store was my daughter's favorite place. We used to go every Saturday, until it closed. My little girl cried for weeks." Clara smiled sadly. "I remember her. Brown hair, always asked for adventure stories." Ethan's breath caught. It was them. The kindness in her tone, the way she spoke to children. He remembered her now. And then, like a thunderbolt, the truth hit him. The business partner who betrayed her was the same man who had cheated Ethan's construction company years ago. He'd run off with thousands, forcing Ethan to sell his truck and nearly lose his home. Clara noticed his face darken. You know him?" "Too well," Ethan muttered. "He didn't just ruin your life, he almost ruined mine." They sat in silence, the weight of shared pain settling between them. Then Ethan looked at Liam, smiling despite the lump in his throat. "But maybe," he said softly, "we can both start over." Over the next few weeks, Ethan helped Clara get back on her feet. He used his business contacts to help her find a small space for her books again, a modest corner inside a local cafe. She renamed it Second Chapter. The grand reopening was humble but beautiful. Liam ran around with his little bike, laughing freely for the first time in months. Ethan watched Clara greet customers, light back in her eyes, and felt something shift inside him, a quiet warmth he hadn't felt since his wife passed. A few days later, he stopped by the cafe to drop off some supplies. Liam came running, holding something out. "Sir, you never bought my bike!" Ethan chuckled. "You still want to sell it?" Liam shook his head. "No, I want to give it to your daughter, so she can ride with me sometime." Ethan blinked, his voice thick. That's very kind of you, Liam." Clara stood behind her son, smiling through tears. "Kindness," she said quietly, "is the one thing he never lost." Ethan looked at her, realizing the truth of it. Life had taken much from both of them, but it couldn't steal their capacity to care, to rebuild, to start again. Narrator's closing words. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness, like stopping for a boy selling his bike, can lead us back to the parts of ourselves we thought were gone forever. Ethan and Clara's paths crossed in their lowest moments, but through compassion, they helped each other rise again. And in the end, no one needed to buy a bike, because love was something you couldn't put a price on.